In 1907, the United States government was days from collapse. Banks were failing, markets were frozen, panic spread nationwide. There was no central bank, no bailout plan, no safety net. Wall Street trembled. Ordinary citizens rushed to withdraw their savings. Confidence evaporated overnight. The financial system was cracking. So America called one man, not the president, not Congress, J.P. Morgan. And he saved the system with his own money. But this was not an act of charity. It was power. A man born into power. John Pierpont Morgan was not born poor. He was born connected. His father was a powerful banker. A man already embedded in international finance. Morgan did not enter the world searching for opportunity. He entered it surrounded by it. He was educated in Europe, not casually, deliberately. He studied in Switzerland. He absorbed discipline in Germany. He learned finance in London, the financial heart of the world. He was trained early to think globally, to see capital as international. But his childhood was not effortless. He struggled with illness. He was not physically strong. He was forced into isolation at times. That isolation built intensity. He observed more than he spoke. He calculated more than he reacted. While others chased excitement, Morgan studied structure. He watched how European banking houses controlled governments through debt, how sovereign nations depended on private capital. He learned something subtle. Money was not power by itself. Trust was. If people trusted you, they deposited with you. They invested with you. They followed you. Trust moved money faster than force. Capital flowed toward confidence. And whoever controlled confidence, controlled markets. Privilege gave Morgan access, but discipline gave him leverage. And leverage builds empires. The era of chaos, late 1800s America, was financial anarchy. Thousands of banks. No unified oversight. No central authority. Every state had different rules. Every bank held its own reserves. When panic struck, institutions failed instantly. Depositors ran. Businesses collapsed. Credit vanished overnight. A rumor alone could destroy a bank. There was no lender of last resort, no stabilizing force. Crashes were brutal, recovery was slow, confidence was fragile. Railroad bubbles formed, speculation soared, then everything imploded. Factories closed, workers lost wages, investors lost fortunes. The economy moved in violent cycles. Boom, bust, panic, rebuild. Most financiers reacted emotionally. They chased profit during booms. They hid during crashes. Morgan did neither. He did not see chaos. He saw fragmentation. He saw weak leadership, disorganized capital, uncoordinated banking. He understood something others ignored. Panic spreads when structure is absent. He did not chase risk. He absorbed it. When competitors failed, he stepped in, not recklessly, strategically. He reorganized debt. He forced transparency. He demanded accountability. He did not gamble. He structured. He brought order to disorder. And in chaos, the one who provides structure becomes indispensable. Financing the industrial age. Morgan did not build factories. He financed them. He did not lay railroad tracks. He funded the rail empires. Railroads connected the country. Steel built its cities. Electricity powered its future. And behind many of these transformations stood Morgan's capital. He understood industrial America was expanding faster than its financial system. Companies overbuilt. They competed destructively. They borrowed recklessly. Railroads went bankrupt because they built too much track. With too much debt, Morgan stepped in as the stabilizer. He reorganized failing railroads. He eliminated destructive competition. He merged rival lines. He standardized management. He imposed discipline. Executives feared his scrutiny. Investors respected his approval. He believed industries worked best when centralized. Fragmentation created weakness. Consolidation created stability. He applied this logic repeatedly. Electric utilities, steel producers, shipping lines. If it shaped modern America, Morgan's influence was there. He did not invent industries. He structured them. He replaced chaos with hierarchy. This was not philanthropy. It was system design. And in system design, the architect becomes more powerful than the builder, creating U.S. Steel. In 1901, Morgan engineered the largest corporate merger the world had ever seen, Andrew Carnegie's steel empire. Federal Steel, multiple competitors, all rivals, all aggressive, all unstable in competition. Morgan saw inefficiency where others saw rivalry. He believed competing steel giants weakened the industry, so he consolidated them, combined into one entity, U.S. Steel, the first billion-dollar corporation in history. $1 billion, at a time when that number was almost unimaginable. This was not just a company. It was scale without precedent. It controlled production. It controlled pricing. It controlled distribution. Morgan understood scale. Not innovation. Not invention. Consolidation. He didn't need to invent steel. He needed to control its production. Control meant predictability. Predictability meant investor confidence. Investor confidence meant stable capital. And stable capital meant power. Critics called it monopoly. Supporters called it efficiency. But either way, Morgan had proven something historic. You do not need to create the product. You need to control the structure. That delivers it. U.S. Steel was not just a corporation. It was proof that financial engineering could reshape an entire industry. And once Morgan demonstrated that, Wall Street would never operate the same way again. Power through confidence. Morgan understood psychology. Markets do not run on numbers, they run on belief. If Morgan backed a deal, investors followed. If Morgan withdrew, capital disappeared. His name alone moved markets. He rarely smiled. He spoke with authority. He projected certainty. In a fragile system, certainty becomes currency. And Morgan printed confidence. A private man saves a public system. Morgan used his own money, not out of kindness, out of necessity. If the financial system collapsed, his empire collapsed with it. He was not saving strangers. He was protecting structure. But in doing so, he stabilized the nation. And Americans realized something uncomfortable. One private banker held more financial power than the government itself. The Federal Reserve is born. The lesson was clear. America could not rely on one man forever. What if Morgan had refused? What if he had died earlier? What if he had chosen differently? In response to the panic of 1907, lawmakers began designing a centralized banking system. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was created, a lender of last resort, a structured safety net. Morgan did not live long enough to see its full power, but his actions made it inevitable. He didn't just save America, he reshaped it. The price of power. Morgan was respected, but he was also feared. Critics called him dangerous, too powerful, too central, too influential. Congress investigated him. Newspapers questioned him. Populists attacked him. They were not entirely wrong. When capital concentrates, control follows, and control always attracts resistance. Morgan believed stability required authority. Others believed authority threatened freedom. That tension still exists today. Morgan's true legacy. Morgan did not chase popularity. He chased stability. He understood something timeless. Markets need order, more than freedom. Pure freedom creates volatility. Order creates predictability. And whoever provides order sets the rules. Morgan became systemically essential. He was not just rich, he was necessary. And necessity is the highest form of power. Modern parallels. Today's financial giants operate using Morgan's blueprint. Centralized capital, crisis intervention, too big to fail. Investment banks, central banks, institutional funds, names change, the structure remains. When markets tremble, capital consolidates. When crisis hits, power centralizes. Morgan understood this. Over a century ago, J.P. Morgan reveals a hard truth. The most powerful people are rarely visible. They do not hold office. They hold systems. They do not chase attention. They build leverage. When crisis strikes, they do not panic. They decide. If you want to understand how real power operates, how capital shapes nations, and how stability is engineered behind the scenes, subscribe to Kings, Empires, and Billionaires. Because behind every nation that survives collapse is someone who understood how money truly works. And in 1907, that someone was J.P. Morgan.